Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope that you're doing well. I wanted to do a quick video on oily skin. As you guys know, I have normal to oily skin, sometimes a little dry in the winter, but surprisingly not this year. For all of you oily skin gals out there, I'm sure you can relate. It can be really a challenge to find a foundation, a powder, sort of a whole system to really keep your face looking fresh all day. And I am definitely someone who has had lots of trials and tribulations with trying different foundations to really achieve the kind of look that I like, which is really just a natural matte finish. I don't like to look super matte, I don't want to look powdery or flat or anything, but because I do have a very oily T-zone area, I really like to look fresh, and I really like my makeup to be long wearing. So in this video, I'm just going to show you some of the products that I would recommend for people with oily skin, things you can do to sort of cut down on that oil or control the oil throughout the day, and also just things that I do, sort of what my routine is to really cut down on the oil. If you're like me, you aren't home very often, you are very busy, and you don't want to reapply your makeup throughout the day. So for me, one of the most valuable parts of really controlling my oil has been to invest in a long-wearing foundation. There are lots of different long-wearing foundations out there. Some of them I think work better than others, but I just wanted to show you guys a couple of the ones that I would recommend. The two that I think are the best of any foundations, any long-wearing foundations I've ever used, is the Estee Lauder Double Wear and also the Revlon Color Stay and the normal to oily skin formula. These two, I think, are pretty much my holy grail foundations. They work really well with my skin. They're pretty much the best in terms of being able to stay on my skin all day, and then when I look in the mirror at the end of the day, I don't look super greasy. There are things you can do in conjunction to wearing a long-wearing foundation like this that will help your makeup last, and I'll get into that in a little bit, but I wanted to mention these foundations. I'm also going to mention a couple of other secondary foundations that I've really enjoyed. I don't think they're quite as good as either the Color Stay or the Estee Lauder Double Wear, but they are also long-wearing and good for oily skin, and that would be the MAC Pro Long Wear is one of them. Also, Makeup Forever's Matte Velvet Plus, and also Clinique's Acne Solutions. I would recommend the Acne Solutions if you're a very acne prone, you have active breakouts, or you're very prone to getting breakouts. This has actually salicylic acid in it, which will help kind of kill that bacteria at the level, at the surface of the skin. This is pretty long wearing, not as long wearing as Estee Lauder Double Wear or the Revlon Color Stay, as I mentioned, but definitely a more long-wearing natural matte finish. So when you have oily skin, you know, you're going to want to gravitate towards a product with a matte to natural matte finish. You're going to want to stay away from products that are dewy, products that have any kind of a luminescent quality to them, products that are super moisturizing. Those are just things that you would want to avoid. And I know it can be scary to say, you know, to wear a matte foundation, but if you have oily skin, maybe when you first put on your foundation, it might look slightly flat or matte, but as the day goes on, you can really start to tell that the oils in your skin mix in with the foundation and you get a little bit more of a healthy glow. Now, one thing that I've really enjoyed doing recently is mixing in more dewy foundations with a more matte long-wearing foundation so that you get sort of like the best of both worlds. So one of my personal favorites, today I'm actually wearing the Revlon Photo Ready mixed in with the Matte Velvet Plus. And for me that's really nice because as you can see, my face is still very matte, but you can see a little bit of glowy dewiness in certain parts of my skin, and it adds this nice nice radiance and this nice healthy glow to the skin while also maintaining that matte finish and that long wearability. So this is a combination I've been enjoying. I also enjoy mixing the Revlon Photo Ready with my Estee Lauder Double Wear or also with my Revlon Color Stay. So if you are an oily skin person and you like a matte finish but you also want to add a little glow or dewiness to the skin, I would recommend mixing in the Revlon Photo Ready with one of these more just matte long wearing foundations. One of the things you can do in addition to wearing a long wearing foundation is using a mattifying primer, and the one that I use is called MAC Matte Cream. It's a silicone based mattifying primer that you can use on the most oily parts of your skin to help, control that oil throughout the day. So I typically use this on my forehead, on my nose, and on my chin to sort of just add that extra barrier of protection to mattify the skin and to help control the oil throughout the day. Another really important thing to do is to make sure that you're setting your foundation with a loose powder. Now that's one thing that's often very misunderstood. What's the difference between a pressed powder and a loose powder? Well, a loose powder is really what you need to help set your foundation in the morning. It's going to help your foundation last a lot longer than if you use a pressed powder. A pressed powder is really good to use throughout the day. As you start to see the oiliest poke through, you can go through with a pressed powder and touch up later. But as far as in the morning when you first put on your foundation, you should really use a loose powder. The loose powder I really enjoy is the Almay Nearly Naked Loose Powder. You can get this from the drugstore for like $10. And the thing I like about this is that it really absorbs the oil and it provides a nice natural finish. It's not too matte and it's also not luminescent or dewy or anyway. So it just sort of sets the foundation, doesn't make it too matte, doesn't make it too glowy. It's just a nice universal kind of powder. And then later throughout the day, if I see some oiliness poke through, you can use blotting papers. And there's these little sheets. I can actually just do it for you guys to show you. So they look like this, and you just kind of put them on your face, just press them on. You don't want to like wipe them because it will actually take off your makeup, but you just press them on sort of like, onto whatever areas of your face have like greasiness on them. And as you can see, that just took a lot of shine off my forehead, and then you can actually see like the oil that came off onto the sheet. A really important thing to remember is to blot, if you can, obviously you might not be able to do this, but remember to blot before you powder. So one of the pressed powders I really like to use because it is really mattifying and it's designed to control oil is the MAC Blot Powder. And this comes with a little puff, which that's another thing. Puffs are much better to use than sponges if you're blotting. So you would just take a little bit of this powder onto the puff and just kind of pat that on. So there you can see my forehead is looking really matte now. And you don't need to put this all over your face. I would say just concentrate the powder in the areas of your face that you find are the most oily. You don't want to put this powder everywhere. My cheeks are not looking too oily, so I just concentrated that in my T-zone. So it's a really nice way to get rid of oil. Used in combination with a blotting powder, it's the best way, but if you don't have a blotting powder or anything, it's not going to look horrible if you just use the powder. But if you can get rid of the excess oil first, it will really help your makeup not look cakey at all throughout the day. So that would just be my recommendation. My final recommendation would be, I recently bought the Urban Decay D-Slick, and this is by Skindinavia, and it's a makeup setting spray. And this one is designed to control oil and also make your makeup last up to 16 hours. What you do with this is you spray it on before you put your makeup on, and then you go ahead with your foundation and everything as you normally do, and then right before you're about to leave the house or whatever you're done with your makeup, you just spray on this again to set your makeup. They recommend between 2 and 4 sprays both before you put on your makeup and after, and I can honestly say, you guys, this has been a miracle for me. It's really been working really well to control my oil. I'm typically gone from the house on a given day for about 13 to 14 hours. So when, these foundations say, that they're built to last for 15 hours, I can honestly say that they do. Especially the Estee Lauder Double Wear and the Revlon Color Stay. Now, I know that these kind of foundations can be a little scary because they are medium to full coverage foundations, but if you ever feel as though they are too thick or too much coverage, just use a littlest bit and just spread it all over your face. You can add in a moisturizer, you can add in another more lighter coverage foundation with them, like I mentioned with the Revlon Photo Ready. If you find that it's too thick, if you find that it's too much coverage for you and you don't, want that kind of look, you can really alter the usage to get the kind of look that you want. Another thing you can do is use a buffer brush instead of like a flat foundation brush or a flat top kabuki. You can use a duo fiber brush like the MAC 187 or this kind of tapered synthetic brush like the Sephora number 55. These kind of brushes will really help blend out the product without giving you too much coverage. A traditional foundation brush like this or a flat top foundation brush like this is going to give you a lot more coverage than one of these kind of brushes. So if you are afraid of getting too much of coverage, or you don't want to have look like you have a mask of makeup on, definitely try to use these kind of foundations in conjunction with a buffer brush and just put one little pump on, just blend it all around your face, and then just top it off with a powder. So anyways, you guys, I hope that this was helpful for you oily skin gals. I hope that these tips are useful to you as you are shopping for long-wearing, oil-controlling foundations. Remember those blot papers, that pressed powder, and also investing in something like the Skindinavia Urban Decay D-Slick or the No More Shine. This kind of thing really helps. And just don't hesitate to leave me a comment below if you have any questions. I do get a lot of comments and questions from gals all the time. Hey, I have oily skin, what do you think? And so I just want to do this video to really just get it out there. Estee Lauder Double Wear, Revlon Color Stay are amazing. They've worked miracles for me, and I really think if you find the right foundation, the right primer, the right powders, you will not have a problem with your makeup coming off. I promise you. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.